I've lost thousands of dollars in real estate because of these mistakes, and I want to just share them with you so you don't make the same mistakes. Now, thousands of dollars could mean, hundreds of thousands of dollars or a couple thousands of dollars. For me, it's a couple thousands, but they're still good lessons, and it's a lesson learned that I could have learned spending hundreds of thousands instead of thousands. So I'm glad I spent a lower amount of money than a higher amount of money learning these lessons. And some of you, keep in mind, if you're getting into real estate or you're in real estate, some of you won't listen to this advice and you're gonna do it, and then you're gonna have the same pitfalls, and then you're gonna say, oh, I should have listened. First of all, I've been in real estate for a year and a half, a little bit over a year and a half now, and I've done it full time for about a year and a half. And so the first lesson that I learned is always put your fee in writing. No matter who you're working with, if you are a wholesaler or if you are sourcing deals for a buyer, always put your fee in writing and always have the control of the contract. For example, if you have a buyer that's trusted that you've done multiple deals with, and then you come to them and you say, hey, I've got a deal over here, and since you've done deals in the past with them, you just let them be the contract holder. Wrong. That's a mistake. That's a mistake. Because now you don't have the power to control when it closes, right? In situations, especially when you're early off, I'd assume, you want that money, you need that money for living, to quit your job or to move or do this or that. And when you don't have that money, it's tricky. And I'm not saying every single deal will close when you want it to, because it won't. But if you have a deal where you can increase the odds of closing it when you want to, you should always do that. Because even if you have a trusted buyer and you give them the power to decide when it's going to close, then they can decide, I don't want to close on it. They can decide, I'm not going to close on it now. They can decide, oh, it's going to be longer than expected. So you want to always have the contract, and you want to always have that control over when the closing is going to happen. That lesson has costed me a couple $100. I would just say that it's hard, especially if you have a good buyer, to expand your buyer pool and send your deals out to multiple buyers. Because it is your job as a wholesaler or as a real estate investor to find the highest paying buyer, whether that's retail or whether that's wholesale. If you don't find the highest paying buyer, then you're doing yourself a disservice, because you're spending money and time. Time is money. You're spending these resources to lock up this deal and to negotiate with the seller and to get this price. And now you're giving the control to somebody else who can decide, I want to close on this. Because the buyer, at the end of the day, they have other things going on in their life, and they can decide, hey, I've got this thing going on in my life. I'm deciding not to close even though you sourced this deal and brought it to me. So you always want to have that control over the contract 100% every single time, no matter how much you trust that buyer. The second lesson I've learned is that if you're doing a JV deal, do not connect the buyer and the wholesale. The whole point of a JV business, of a disposition business, is you want to have repeat deals that get completed and go to the closing line with different wholesalers. So let's say you have 10 different wholesalers and they're all sending you one deal every 2 months. So an average of 5 deals a month. If you have these 10 wholesalers and they're all sending you deals, great. Now, if you connect the buyer and the wholesaler, what are they going to do now? Where is your value? So if you connect the buyer and the wholesaler, now on the next deal, they're just going to work together. What's the point of having you involved and you making an extra $5,000 when the wholesaler can make an extra $5,000? And I'm not saying that every wholesaler would do this, but there is a lot of people in this real estate world that will do that to you. So, for example, the first deal, you have wholesaler, you, and buyer. And you bring the buyer to the wholesaler and you make $5,000. Now, this wholesaler doesn't know who the buyer is if you keep everything separate. But if you link the wholesaler with the buyer, now they're just going to do deals together, and now you're over here and you're not making any money. So that costs you money, because that costs you opportunity, future opportunity, to make money. So always keep your buyer and your wholesaler separate, no matter the circumstance. And if it's a wholesaler you've been working with a long time, then at least get it in writing that says, hey, this buyer I'm bringing to the table, I'm fine with introducing you to, but I need to have you sign a non-circumvent so that you're not going around my back after this deal and working directly with the buyer. Because I spent my time and resources, time is money, so I spent my money and resources helping you find a buyer, and I've developed this list of buyers specifically for this deal. You're not allowed to just go around me, because I just spent my resources helping you. If you're running a business, you have to treat it like a business. It's not a hustle, it's a business. Treat it like a business. Keep everything in writing. Keep everything secure. Because if you end up getting sued at the end of the day, or you end up getting screwed over by somebody, if you have something in writing, then you can always retaliate. And I'm not saying retaliation is a good thing. You know, I believe in karma. If somebody screws you over, then, you know, God will screw them over in the future. Always keep everything in writing. It just makes everything easier, makes your life easier, and it keeps you protected. And it saves time and money. I mean, you're using your resources to close these deals. You might as well keep yourself protected. Another thing I would say is that everybody says shiny object syndrome, right? Don't chase shiny objects, because there's so many ways to get into real estate. You can wholesale, you can bird dog, you can do a dispo business full time, you can become a lender, you can become a gator, you can pitch creative, you can buy and hold, you can do co-living, you can go into multifamily, you can go to commercial. There's so many different ways to get into real estate. And what I would say is just start with something small and work your way up. Once you have profit from one thing, then you can switch over to something else. Do not jump all over the place, because I did that. When I was at my parents' house and I was sleeping there and staying there after I dropped out of college, I made some money last year and I was doing single family houses. And I saw a YouTube video somewhere that was like, you can make so much more money in land and it's so much easier. And obviously my brain is the kind that's wired like, oh, okay, I can make more money and it's easier over here. I might as well try it out, you know? And I'm not saying don't try new things, because you definitely should, but don't try new things until you're profitable in one thing. So I was doing single family acquisitions, and then I decided, okay, I'm gonna take all the money I earned and I'm gonna throw it into a mailing campaign for vacant land. I knew nothing about vacant land, absolutely nothing. And I don't know what I was thinking. I don't regret it, because I learned this lesson and now I can help you by teaching this lesson. Just stay in your lane, because guess what happened to those mailers? I lost every single dollar. I did not get a single deal. I had one piece of land that I was novating and it didn't close, and I lost every single dollar. So just stay in your lane until you have enough money to where you can throw something into another market and not be worried that, okay, if I lose this. I would say that if you're going to expand and you're going to try something else in real estate and it costs money, and remember, time is money. So if it costs a significant amount of time or a significant amount of money, you need to set aside X amount of money or time, and you need to say, okay, if I lose this time or money, it won't affect me. Assume it's already lost. So if you're spending $10,000, $15,000 on a marketing campaign on mailers for land, set aside that money and at least have a significant amount of money that's still cash, especially if you're a beginner, to be able to fall back. And when you put aside that money, let's say it's $10,000, assume that money is already gone. It's already used. So those are the 3 lessons that I've learned. And another lesson I would also throw in there is that be very careful who you do business with. There's a lot of sketchy people in this business, and there's a lot of people who do things the wrong way and who are very selfish. There's a ton of people that are amazing in this business and that will help you throughout the entire process, and absolutely incredible people. But whenever there's something where there's incredible people, there's also something where there's bad people. In every single business. I mean, if you look at any single business across the entire world, there's going to be good people and there's going to be bad people. And try to find those good people and hang on to them, because people who are actually good and are willing to help you, they're difficult to find. Those are the lessons I would say. And then also, I would recommend, if you have a friend and you want to get into business with that friend, vet that friend very carefully, because it's very easy if you and a friend have an idea to go join forces and wholesale real estate together, or join forces and start a lending company or anything. Vet that person very hard. Sit down, make a pros and cons list of that person if they're a good friend to you, because business can easily destroy friendships, and it's a lesson learned that has happened to me. And you have to be very careful who you do business with, because if you guys don't synergize and you guys don't work together for a common goal, and you have very strict laid out expectations of each other of what you're going to do in that business, you won't succeed. If you do, there's a higher chance you succeed. But if you just say, hey, let's go start this wholesaling business, let's do it together, and you don't lay out expectations and write out a business plan and how person A and how person B is going to benefit the business, and let's say person A is going to do acquisitions and person B is just going to do dispositions, then it's a different story. But if you just say, let's go work on this wholesaling business together, and now you're both doing acquisitions acquisitions and you're both doing dispositions, now it's going to end up being and seeming like it's more work than just doing it by yourself, because you're relying on somebody else who might not be as good as you or who you think isn't working as hard as you. And then now you're screwed because you already started this business with this person. And it takes a lot of time and energy away from your actual focus if this person does not synergize with you. So just be very careful and vet who you work with. And I'm not saying you shouldn't do business with friends, because doing deals with friends is one of the best experiences ever. But if you're starting a business with somebody, vet them very carefully. And if you're doing real estate and you're doing a deal with a friend, that's amazing. I mean, 100% you guys should do that because it makes the business so much more fun. But always get everything in writing, 100%, even if it's your best friend, get it in writing. Don't connect the wholesaler and the buyer, and just stay in your lane. Don't have shiny object syndrome, especially if you're new to the business. So this is day 3, and I am so tired and I'm so done, but I'm gonna keep going. I just want to say that you guys can do anything you want to. I mean, absolute anything. I am a normal person. I mean, I might be like a little bit more crazy than everybody else, but that's just because society says so. The point I'm getting at is that I'm a normal person. You guys can do anything you want to. You just gotta put your mind to it and you gotta execute. A lot of people will put their mind to something, like let's say you wanna get into real estate and you wanna start wholesaling single family. If you start, you need to keep going. You need to put in the work, because so many people will start real estate and then they'll do one call a day, which is great. At least you're taking action. But if you want to actually go full-time into real estate, you need to put forth really imperfect action that moves the needle forward and is in high volume. Because the more volume you do, the higher likelihood you're going to succeed. If you do so much volume that you're tired every single day and you're like, oh my gosh, this is the most amount I've ever worked in my life, then there's no reason you won't win. There's no reason you won't win, because this business works. I know it works. And so it's just a matter of putting in the reps, putting in the hours, and putting in the money to actually make this business work. And that goes for any business. So if you're thinking about starting a business, go ahead, take the leap, take the action. At least just take one piece of action today and figure it out. Go on YouTube, research whatever business you want to get into, and just take action. Who cares if it's imperfect action? At least you're taking action. You're moving the needle forward to get to the goals that you want to be in. So those are the 3 lessons that I've learned in real estate. I hope some of you found value in it, and if you did, then like and subscribe and stay along, because there's still 27 days left. See you later.